abusia Farouk Al Wahab aba abonten e the message bi e the aba abonten a just say enye easy dia na papa yi e the aba abonten a efa eye his excellency former president Nana Danko Akufo-Addo ene eye MPP abusia we dey ma mekasa wampese ye konekoti nsem aye papa yi eye Farouk Al Wahab e the etu dwa na sewi na so ho adwunche bia bode na ya kire ya dwe hada so ye ba media GH se ene de di connect channel so a ni de no bu kwan so e be se also be subscribe e de amabo notification bell no so for podcast update yentie ye papa yi nsem a ode etu dwa ene some allegations bia abusia wa raise yentie no emrasese a medase
was say Africa is the future. And now was an account a year slavery one cemetery say adia asiwo nipa abrabomu ewo bibremu ha en enye baako ene say na yeton nipa slaves. So we are President Mahama posture ewo UN General Assembly. What does it tell you?
Well, we're taking segment by segment.
Okay.
One, let's start with the reparation, the slave trade, the what in its estimation and that's investigation of African leaders. America and our countries are only involved in slavery. They'll be almost FPKB after reparation, almost America. So that one, you can see from where I sit as a diplomatic consultant. So it is a speech well delivered. And yet, first time it will be the last. African leaders across the in international term, Africanism concept, advocate that statement in bold all the time. Mr. Mandela, W. President Kufuor, Obia, Obasanjo, every African leader now can address the U.S. chamber in the last 25 years, last 30 years, last 50 years. Reparation, what I'm saying is that it should not be the emphasis of our focus. We need more. We trade, I wear anything. And I said, everybody sounds good. 10 days now that we're involved in. You buy a car and now you kill me because I'm a dear man. And I am for your America for your Kojana. And I see a Kojana British. And they're Kojana Dutch. And they're Kojana the Belgic and not the French. Only now were involved in a different way. A lot of them were involved, not only direct buyer of the human beings, but some were merchants, some were dealers. Yes, I can say a reparation grant. There is no better just a number also. How do you quantify at the time how many were taken from Ghana vis-a-vis from vis-a-vis from the New Republic, vis-a-vis from Angola, vis-a-vis from other countries? It is a subject here is worth mentioning to put a hit on their faces and prepare themselves and tell you about Florati or Martin Norway Moscow. And come with some, let's say, or could be as an organization from African Union, from IMF, and that's American Interest Canada, and that's Fire Kasa. This cano, reparation like that cano, also the countries were involved in slave trade in a different colonial masters. Ghana I can show you them. And then Ghana had direct accusation of the UK for reparation here. They young California didn't Papa and Nama, wouldn't cost a guarantee war. When don't call them out or don't go more association. And what we can talk about the reparation.
It is a country ban yen directly because Nana Akufo-Addo ofri so nan say akra e make mention of it, but it looks like ye call UN General Assembly na yakwa kan yenim baby a ye target ya de na ko.
And I make sure say is the most difficult dicey subject of the African leaders making such pronouncement. It is okay. It's worth mentioning what I mean. It will remind the world what the bad deeds and what they did to Africa. That is okay. But to talk about reparation, the continent was divided among the Western cultures at the colonial. That's the final idea. How to do the final idea? Where the final idea post second your friend is slavery. You been a colonial masters who colonize you. In the sense, you see a gay person. Ghana before Anna. And also Ghana or point America and African Reparation. And Africa or the map quantity. What the African countries now? When the slavery woman can own. Americans are young to women. What about Tunisians, young to women? What about Egyptians, young to women? What about Algerians? What about the Libyans? These are North African countries, the Arabian Peninsula outside of the Africans. Also in the Burma country, where are we dealing with the subject here? Africans, Egyptians, any the Arabs, you know. When it's the Arabian Peninsula, from Middle East, Yemen, any across this Djibouti, side of the Middle East, you know. Only a dear new, any opportunity, every organization, Ninya, Atantini, Obini, Africans were also involved. If you are that subject, reparation is something that we, from diplomatic sense, that it will not happen today, it will not happen tomorrow. But it's worth mentioning to remind them to put a smile, a face, how do we call it, a shame on their faces. But I don't see how successive European Union, successive United Nations, our better said, 103 countries out of the world, they deal with the issue of reparation. Then when the reparation also what the Europeans also supposed to do to the Asians, do you know how the Chinese were treated? Do we know how they also did the Chinese so the Second World War? Do we know how the Europeans treated the Americans? When we treaty was the Vietnam. What about the Vietnam War? What about the Japanese Hiroshima? Has America going to repay them? Have they paid them? Have they done anything? It is a subject of diplomatically, politically mentioned on the podium speech.
Okay.
But the reality of it, you know, I can tell you, sir, it is too deep, controversial, and very disturbing. You cannot. It's a good step president of such here, and I like him for making that. It's a reference of the history, but it does not make a validity that we can achieve anything from reparation.
Okay, there's a killing no.
Okay.
Messi not as a killing tria. But what does that add to the image of Africa and as a Nipah workers as in the country to say in this case President John Mahama?
There's a mama I raised the bar of the topic. But this bar of the topic had also been echoed by the young African Union platform. Even the time near what the so committed Africanism concept, Akroma, and all those that you can name at the time. Haile Selassie, all those you can name them at the time. Davi and Kuru, Prana, Omba in affiliate, Omba Chin, Gillian, and all those Kayaka. I'm not sure they didn't mind them. The best they could do for them was to grant them independence. And to granting the independence, you become a self-determined country, self-determination. You become your own destiny. Anything has been independent. How well have we? We are doing independence now. We are 68 years. 10 years, now back to the Mama's speech. May be a talking the issue of the sentiment, not the Africa as a president, but Ghana as our stand. I like him for that and thumbs up for that. Meaning, sir, the Mama, this is not the president, the Maghreb, the Arabian Peninsula and Crown, that is also a member because they branded it as a terrorist nation. So Yasser Arafat was kept in the middle in the air, not have the destination to them. It was an instrumental of Jerry Mohammed at the time. At the time, supported by Abacha, was young his son. I did the Babangida and the support here. He put because young man is Arafat, one of or struggle for independence and self-determination for his people. In the Ghana, identity, ideology, philosophy, politically, diplomatically, you proceed. Your slogan is freedom and justice. We know what came from. we fought for independence. So any group of persons, individuals, collective culture, collective race, urban settlements, I almost say, let us see the balance for peace. If you want, Ghana will to peace. In the independence request, Ghana is in there. Ghana supported the agenda of South Africa from apartheid. And Ghana was the country who declared the passport, even illegal to be sent to South Africa to travel. If the old passport is something boldly, the Ghana passport is valid for countries except the Bantu land, which is then the South Africa. That was our protest. Ghana supported a lot of the countries to get independent. But Ghana cannot see herself on independence and then liberation and self-determination of Palestine. So I'm a member of pushing from OAU up to AU 2002, and then the Sarafat batch in the knee. Out of which, I use that for we need the support failure or my Sarafat, the political bureau, or Nicosi Tunisia. If you are for in general. Now, if you look at this, you listen to the story, and the message President Mama, then we have to enhancement of human development. We are Ghana destiny. Ghana climate, better climate, Ghana, and then the human development, and then also liberty, liberation, and mankind. And I hear very much with environmental issues. These are the profiler that are the United Nations General Assembly. Now listen to me. Last year, 2024, I would say the only unfortunate time, which in my view, even the 8 years of His Excellency addressing the chamber 8 times, I had an issue when he was in the chamber. 2024 in the third speech, and now the podium, expecting the Europeans at the time and then the Americans at the time, to even give him a standing ovation and give him an applause, which never happened. What did he say? At that time, the matter on the table, one of the agenda was Ukraine war. I'm sorry for that. We have an African issue, which is far bigger than that. Which one of them? Yet Sudan. Sudan has been in confrontation and conflict, killing the top of about 60,000 people are being murdered. That was an issue. Our president didn't touch on that issue at the time. Minimal, he tried down. He said, general crisis across Africa. But he was bold to say, sir, any target of bomb that hit, any bomb that hit on the target of Ukraine affect the pocket of Ghanaians in Africa and the world. And then he didn't say, sir, this is a war. 2 countries are fighting. The president cautiously did not see, sir, maybe Ukrainian bomb that hits on target of Russia, it enriches the pocket of Africa and Ghana. That was why he didn't say that. However, country when we get to independence, supporting the Ghana independent agenda was Russia, Ukraine. And the only reaction immediately from the Russian embassy in Ghana, telling Ghana president said, and that speech did not receive standing ovation as compared to His Excellency President Mama Diana, who delivered a telling them that Ghana and Palestine will support 2 parties, 2 countries, 2 states. They all stood up to clap for him. Complete the team. Then again, President Kufuor Amananso also will stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. When Ghana became a pro-religious government supporter, Ghana is independent neutrality when it comes to religion. That is why I have a religious fight. When you remember that time, he mentioned that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the sovereign of the people of Israel because the people were kidnapped. What about the 50,000 people, over 20,000, not the whole country, 60,000, almost 100,000, destroyed land, flooded land, and become a desert? Our president didn't speak on that. I thank God that President Mama had the courage and the balls to speak in the face of Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. He said it. Whether to work or not, at least he has shown us because when in the same time joined His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 2022, Ghana had a chance to join the UN Security Council as a member as they normally do.
Yeah.
From independence of Ghana in 1967, 57, Yako Chamber 4 times, 62, 63. Yako 67, and Yako 86, 87, and Yako 2022, 2023. My issue was that at that time, when Ghana went into the chamber, and now Yako Ghana foreign minister, and then Ghana permanent resident UN representative. When Ghana on the policy of the government Ghana holds us within our stand, Ekokani Chamber no UN Security Council as a member of the time of China. Or say Ghana, Gemma Quine, Israel, Palestine, Emma Quine, no beyond the country. 2022, what did the Israelis do? Even the Israeli ambassador to Ghana, warning Ghana president to talk to his people at the UN Security Council. So the Ghana cannot stop like that. And at one point, now no ambassador ever warned Ghana. Now in near time, now 2 years thereafter, now South Africa we stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. It was a diplomatic mishap. It was inconsistent in diplomacy and for that matter from a president at the time. Thank God, President Mahmoud and his colleagues, not only him, William Ruto spoke deeper than what the President Mahmoud even said. Ramaphosa was very blunt on the subject. Now, the African presidents normally, when you go UN General Assembly, they look at the sensitivity of the colonial method. In this case, I'm referring to the French. The French president behind the big now, as they used to be. You have an existing issue, but they are fast in the kind of all of the nation better. But this time around, thank God, Macron himself spoke on the subject, declaring Palestine as a state. Macron said now, if the Macron, I have French for about 28 to 21 countries, 28 countries on the continent of Africa being French, it has opened the box for the colonial states in Africa, and then the French colonies in Africa. Therefore, the majority part, because I'm doing the small Arabian version, Arabian countries. Now the African leaders must now unite and have a word and warn the UN that if we don't have one single representative as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, the next United Nations General Assembly, they should boycott it. Why? Because the biggest decision-making body of the UN Assembly is the UN Security Council. Permanent members is 6. The United Kingdom is 1. United States is 2. France is 3. China, Russia, and India. Now, it's an interesting thing. Africa collectively, 53 countries, 54 countries. Then the biggest among the UN settings of 193 countries. They need one representative. Yes, I understand. We are under colonies. I don't see how they check. I don't see how they say.